People say love fades with age. That after a certain point, romance dries up and intimacy becomes a thing of the past. But if you look around, really look, you'll see that nothing could be further from the truth. I've met couples in their 70s, even 80s, who still hold hands on park benches, still whisper inside jokes over morning coffee, still look at each other not with the hunger of youth, but with a depth that only time can create. Love after 60 isn't about fireworks, it's about a fire that never went out, just burned lower, steadier, and warmer. And let's be honest, intimacy doesn't disappear just because the years go by. In fact, studies show that many older adults still desire physical closeness, but they're held back not by their bodies, but by outdated beliefs. Society teaches us that past a certain age, sex is inappropriate, unnecessary, or even embarrassing. But nothing is more natural or more needed than continuing to love fully, both emotionally and physically. Think about it. A gentle touch at night, a kiss on the shoulder, the comfort of knowing someone still wants to feel you, hold you, connect with you not just in conversation, but in closeness. That isn't just romance. That's medicine for the soul. But here's the painful truth. So many older couples are quietly suffering, not because they've lost love, but because they've lost the courage to talk about it. They miss the intimacy. They miss the warmth. But they stay silent, afraid of judgment, or unsure if it's appropriate at their age. That has to change. Because when we stop believing we're too old for love, something beautiful happens. Our hearts open. Our bodies respond. And our relationships, sometimes decades old, suddenly feel brand new again. So if you've ever found yourself wondering, is it too late for us? I'm here to tell you, it's not even close. Love after 60 is not a memory, it's a choice. A choice to keep touching, to keep connecting, to keep rediscovering each other in ways that are deeper, more honest, and more meaningful than ever before. In this video, we'll explore real stories of couples who've reignited their connection not with magic pills or extreme measures, but with understanding, care, and a new way of seeing what intimacy means at this stage in life. So stay with me, because by the end of this, you just might feel something stir inside, and maybe you'll realize that the best love stories don't end when we grow old. They begin again with one small touch. Tip 1. The quiet secret to staying close. In a small town outside Austin, Texas, there's a couple named Tom and Margaret. They've been married for 51 years. You won't find them posting selfies or making grand declarations on social media, but every Tuesday afternoon, like clockwork, they close the curtains, turn off the phone, and spend time just for themselves. No one knows what happens behind that door, but they do. And that's what matters. But here's the challenge. Many older adults push themselves too hard. They hear whispers of keep the spark alive and mistake that for pressure to act young again. I've met men who quietly suffer chest pain or insomnia because they're too proud to admit they're overdoing it, trying to meet an expectation that no longer fits the reality of their aging body. That's not love. That's a silent burden. Love doesn't demand you to break yourself just to prove you still can. True love, mature love asks for balance. It invites you to slow down, to listen, and to give only what you truly have. There's a reason doctors now talk about the rule of nines. Take the first digit of your age, multiply it by 9, and that's roughly the number of times per 6 weeks that intimate contact is considered ideal. So if you're 70, 7 times 9 is 63, meaning just once a week, or even less, is perfectly normal. But let's be clear, this is not a strict rule. Some couples may want more, others less. What matters most is not frequency, it's harmony. If you're waking up exhausted, if you feel anxious instead of excited, that's your body asking you to slow down. And there is no shame in that. Tom told me recently, there was a time I thought being a man meant pushing through. Now, I know being a man means knowing my limits and still showing up for her in ways that matter. What you give doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. So if your partner still reaches for your hand or smiles when you walk into the room, don't ignore it. Nurture it. Protect it. You don't need to be who you were at 30. You just need to be fully there now. Because staying close isn't about keeping score. It's about keeping your heart open. Tip 2. When slowing down brings you closer. Linda has always been full of life. At 56, she still teaches yoga twice a week, tends her backyard garden, and wakes up before sunrise to walk the neighborhood trail. Her energy is quiet but steady, like a fire that never flickers. Her husband, Paul, Setu, used to be just as active, but in recent years, things have changed. Paul's knees ache when it's cold. His breathing is heavier than before. Sometimes, even getting out of a low chair takes effort. And though he'd never admit it out loud, the confidence he once had as a husband in every sense has started to fade. Linda noticed, not because Paul said anything, but because he stopped reaching for her at night. He'd kiss her cheek, whisper good night, then roll away with a soft sigh, as if sleep could hide what words couldn't say. At first, she gave him space. But one evening, after dinner, she took his hand and asked gently, "Are we okay, Paul? Or are you afraid I might want more than you can give right now?" Paul looked down. "I'm afraid I'll disappoint you," he said quietly. "I know you still have the spark. I just don't want to hold you back." That broke her heart more than any silence ever could. "Paul," she said, "loving you isn't about being strong. It's about being present. We don't need to be the couple we were. We just need to be the couple we are still here, still choosing each other." That night, they didn't rush. No pressure, no expectations. Linda guided Paul with calm, steady care propping pillows behind his back, turning off the harsh lights, adding soft music in the background. They didn't need acrobatics. They needed comfort, closeness, permission to move slowly and speak openly. And in that simplicity, they found something deeper. Paul wasn't just reassured, he was renewed. He later told me, "I thought slowing down would kill the romance, but it made it real again. No pretending. Just the truth of two people still holding on." Many men in their later years struggle with this quietly. The mind remembers how things used to be, but the body reminds them with stiffness, with fatigue, with doubt that time has passed. And if they're not careful, they start to pull away, not because they don't love, but because they're afraid of not being enough. But love, real love, doesn't measure performance, it responds to presence. So if you're the stronger partner now physically or emotionally, be the one who reaches out. Not to lead with pressure, but with care. Create space where your partner doesn't have to prove anything. Just feel safe enough to try. Because the beauty of aging together is this: you no longer have to chase each other. You just have to stay close at the same pace. And when that pace is slow, tender, and honest, that's when love feels stronger than ever. Tip 3. When strength means slowing down. Walter is a former Navy engineer. Broad shoulders, firm handshake, still chops wood out back every morning. His wife, Ruth, once joked that he had more energy at 70 than he did at 30, and she wasn't wrong. They'd been married over 45 years. Still shared jokes, still danced in the kitchen, and yes, still made time for intimacy. But then Ruth had to undergo surgery on her hip. Nothing life-threatening, but it meant weeks, maybe months of rest, and absolutely no physical contact. At first, Ruth was calm. She followed the doctor's orders, took her medications, smiled through the discomfort. But after the second week, something changed. She became short-tempered, restless, easily upset over small things. One morning, Walter poured her coffee a little too hot, and she snapped. The next day, she cried because he folded her sweater the wrong way. Finally, one night, she broke down completely. "You're still so strong," she whispered. "Still healthy? Still a man. What if you get tired of waiting for me? What if you don't want me anymore?" Walter didn't answer right away. He just sat beside her, took her hand in both of his, and said, "Ruth, I didn't fall in love with your body. I fell in love with your laugh." your stubborn heart, your quiet way of holding everything together, that moment changed everything. You see, Ruth wasn't upset because of the pain. She was scared. Scared that without sex, she had nothing left to offer. Scared that age had stolen her ability to be desired. And isn't that the fear so many carry but never say out loud? As men and women age, their bodies shift, their pace slows, but the need to feel wanted, that never fades. And when that need isn't met, not just physically but emotionally, it shows up as anger, distance, even shame. Walter knew this. So during those long recovery weeks, he didn't just take care of Ruth, he courted her again. He made her favorite soup, told old stories to make her laugh, rubbed lotion on her arms just to feel her skin under his hands. He kissed her forehead each night like a promise. And when Ruth was finally strong enough to be close again, she didn't feel nervous or ashamed. She felt safe. She felt loved. She felt wanted not because of what she could do, but because of who she still was. That's what real strength looks like. Not rushing your partner. Not hiding your needs, but choosing patience over pressure. Connection over demand. So if you're listening and wondering what to do when your partner can't be intimate for a while, don't pull away. Lean in. Show them that love isn't about what happens in bed. It's about what happens between the silences, in the care, in the wait. Because sometimes the most powerful intimacy doesn't begin with desire. It begins with reassurance. Tip 4, when saying no still means I love you. Mary Ann had always been a gentle woman, never loud. Never demanding. A retired school teacher with soft eyes and a calm voice. She spent most of her days tending flowers, reading novels, and calling her grandchildren. But behind that quiet smile was a truth she carried alone for years. She was exhausted, not just by aging or by illness, but by the unspoken pressure to say yes even when everything inside her said no. Her husband, Richard, was a good man, faithful, hardworking. They had been married over 50 years. And to anyone looking from the outside, they were the perfect couple. But after retirement, things began to shift. Richard started reading books on keeping the spark alive, watching videos on reviving your manhood after 70. He wasn't trying to hurt her. He simply missed the closeness, the feeling of being wanted. But instead of asking, he assumed. And instead of checking in, he reached out again and again. At first, Mary Ann went along. She didn't want to disappoint him. She told herself it would pass. But as the years wore on, what once felt like love began to feel like a quiet weight she carried alone. She stopped initiating. She avoided eye contact at bedtime. She started to cry in the shower. One night, unable to pretend anymore, she whispered into the dark, "Richard, I love you, but I'm tired. Not just my body, my heart." There was silence. Then, slowly, Richard sat up, turned to her, and asked, "Why didn't you say anything?" Mary Ann took a breath. "Because I thought you'd be disappointed. Because I didn't want to be the wife who said no." And then something remarkable happened. Richard didn't get angry. He didn't walk away. He reached for her hand and held it for a long time. "You saying no doesn't mean you don't love me," he said. "It means you trust me enough to tell the truth." That night, they didn't touch. They just held hands until they fell asleep. And somehow, that was more intimate than anything they'd shared in months. Too many people, especially women, grow old believing they have no right to refuse. That saying no makes them cold, ungrateful, or unloving. But love without consent is not connection. It's obligation. An obligation, when left unspoken, turns into silence, distance, sometimes even pain. At this stage in life, love should feel like rest, not pressure, like being chosen, not demanded. So if you're listening to this and you've been afraid to speak up, don't wait. If something doesn't feel right, say it. If you're not ready, don't apologize. And if your partner truly loves you, they will listen not just with their ears, but with their heart, because the strongest intimacy is built not on passion, but on permission. As we age, Most people focus on blood pressure, cholesterol, and diet, yet few realize that one of the most overlooked indicators of long-term health is something far more personal: our ability to remain emotionally and physically intimate. Yes, regular sexual connection, even in its gentlest forms, has been strongly associated with longer life, sharper cognitive function, and lower risk of depression. Multiple studies, including one from Duke University, have shown that older adults who maintain a healthy level of sexual expression report stronger immune systems, better sleep, lower stress, and even greater life satisfaction. This isn't about performance. It's not about frequency charts or unrealistic expectations. It's about the quality of connection touch that soothes the nervous system, affection that lowers cortisol, intimacy that protects the heart in more ways than one. And yet, so many older couples silently drift apart, assuming that sex no longer matters, or worse, they fear it might be selfish, embarrassing, or even risky. Let's be clear. When done with consent, and awareness, intimacy in later life is not just safe, it's vital. It sends powerful biochemical signals to the brain and body that say, I'm still alive, I'm still wanted, I still belong. Think of it as medicine one with no prescription, no side effects, and no cost. Just a little time, attention, and willingness to stay close. So let's bring it all together with 4 simple principles that support both intimacy and longevity. 1. Less urgency, more intention. You don't need to keep up with your younger self. What matters is consistency, not intensity. Slow, mindful touch, even once a week or once a month, offers lasting health benefits. 2. Emotional closeness is physical nourishment. Intimacy isn't just about the act. It's about the look, the laugh, the hand that reaches across the bed. Those moments release oxytocin, improve sleep, and calm inflammation in the body. 3. Adaptation is not defeat, it's wisdom. Using pillows, pacing, or simply finding new ways to feel good isn't giving in to age, it's responding intelligently to it. Your body changes, but your ability to give and receive love remains. 4. Consent and comfort preserve dignity and trust. The best kind of intimacy at this age is gentle, mutual, and unhurried. It's where both people feel safe enough to speak and cherished enough to be heard. In short, intimacy isn't something you leave behind as you grow older. It's something you grow into. And when nurtured with care, it becomes one of the most powerful tools we have for staying vibrant, connected, and truly alive. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more conversations that matter about health, love, and the truth about aging well. More importantly, we'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you keep the connection strong in your own relationship? What have you learned about intimacy over the years? Leave a comment below. We read every single one. You never know who might need your story today. Until next time, take care of your body, honor your heart, and remember, staying close isn't just good for your soul, it's good for your health. See you soon.